Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real World English. I'm Emma.
And I'm Jake. Today we're talking about something we all face at some point, dealing with rude people in English.
That's right. Whether you're at work, shopping, or just out with friends, knowing how to respond when someone is impolite can be really challenging, especially in a language you're still learning.
Absolutely. Our goal today is to give you practical phrases and strategies that you can use in real-life situations. We'll cover different types of rudeness and how to handle them politely but firmly.
Let's start with a common scenario. Imagine you're at a cafe and the server speaks to you in an impatient tone. Jake, could you give us an example?
Sure. Imagine this. What do you want? Hurry up. There's a line behind you.
That's definitely rude. So how might you respond? Here are some polite but firm responses.
I understand you're busy, but I'd appreciate a moment to decide.
I'll need just a minute more, thank you.
I know it's busy today. I'll try to be quick.
Those are great examples of being polite while still standing up for yourself. Let's give our listeners a few more phrases they could use in similar situations.
I'd like a little more time, please.
Could you please speak more kindly? I'm still deciding.
I understand you're in a hurry, but I'd appreciate some patience.
I'm sorry, but I feel rushed. Could we slow down a bit?
Now, let's move to another common situation, dealing with rude colleagues or classmates. Emma, could you set the scene for us?
Imagine this. You're in a meeting at work and you've just shared an idea. Your colleague interrupts you and says, "That's a terrible idea. It would never work."
Ouch, that's quite direct and not very constructive, is it?
Not at all. Here are some ways to respond.
I appreciate your feedback, but I'd like to finish explaining my idea.
I understand you have concerns. Could you share what specifically worries you?
Let's discuss this more constructively. What part don't you agree with?
These responses acknowledge the other person, but also set boundaries. Let's give some more examples.
I'd like to hear why you think that before we dismiss the idea.
I value different perspectives. Could you explain your concerns more specifically?
Let's pause and discuss this professionally.
Perhaps we could build on this idea together rather than rejecting it outright.
I feel that comment was a bit harsh. Could we discuss this more respectfully?
Now let's talk about de-escalation techniques. These are ways to calm a situation when someone is getting angry or very rude.
This is really important. The key is to stay calm yourself. Let's imagine you're on a bus and someone accuses you of pushing them, even though you didn't.
Here are some phrases to help de-escalate.
I'm sorry if there was a misunderstanding.
I didn't mean to bump into you. The bus is very crowded today.
I understand you're upset. How can we resolve this?
More examples include,
Let's both take a moment to calm down.
I see you're frustrated. I'd like to understand why.
I don't want to argue. Can we find a solution together?
I'm listening to your concerns. Let me try to address them.
I think there's been a misunderstanding. Let's start over.
I respect your feelings. Let's talk about this calmly.
Is there something specific that's bothering you?
Now let's talk about cultural differences in what's considered rude. This is really important because what's rude in one culture might be normal in another.
Exactly. For example, in some cultures, it's normal to be very direct, while in others, people are more indirect when giving opinions or criticism.
In the UK and US, it's often considered rude to ask someone how much money they make or how much something cost them.
And in many Asian cultures, refusing food or gifts can be seen as impolite, while in some Western countries, it's perfectly acceptable to politely decline.
So, what can you say if someone asks you something that feels too personal or rude in your culture?
Here are some gentle ways to respond.
In my culture, we don't typically discuss that. Could we talk about something else?
I'm not comfortable answering that question. Could we change the subject?
That's a bit personal for me. I hope you understand.
More ways to handle cultural differences include,
I'm not sure how to respond to that in this context.
in my experience, that topic is usually private. Is it different in your culture?
I'd prefer not to discuss that, but I'd love to know more about suggest alternative topic.
Now let's talk specifically about workplace rudeness. This can be particularly challenging because you need to maintain professional relationships.
Imagine a colleague takes credit for your idea in a meeting. How would you handle that?
One approach could be, "Thank you for bringing that up, as I mentioned earlier when I proposed this idea."
Or, "I'm glad you like the suggestion I made earlier. Let me elaborate on my initial thoughts."
Here are more workplace-specific phrases.
"I value your input, but I'd appreciate it if you'd let me finish speaking."
Perhaps we could discuss this privately after the meeting.
"I'd like to revisit the point I was making before I was interrupted."
I notice this conversation is getting a bit heated. Should we take a 5-minute break?
Could we approach this discussion more collaboratively?
Now let's move on to online communication, which can be particularly challenging since you can't see facial expressions or hear tone of voice.
Exactly. Imagine you receive an email or message that seems rude or demanding. For example, "You still haven't sent me the report. I need it now."
Here are some ways to respond professionally.
"Thank you for your message. I'm currently finalizing the report and will send it to you by specific time."
I understand this is urgent. I'm prioritizing it and will have it to you as soon as possible.
More examples for online communication include, "I appreciate your reminder. The report will be in your inbox within the hour."
I notice there seems to be some urgency. Could you let me know your specific deadline?
"I'd be happy to prioritize this task. Is there a particular section you need most urgently?"
Finally, let's talk about social gatherings. Emma, could you give us a scenario?
Sure. Imagine you're at a dinner party and someone makes an insensitive comment about your English skills or your country.
That can be really uncomfortable. Here are some ways to respond.
"I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't make comments like that."
I'm still learning English and I'm proud of my progress.
"That comment feels a bit insensitive. I'd rather talk about something else."
More options include, "I understand you might not mean harm, but comments like that can be hurtful."
"I'd love to tell you about my country properly rather than discuss stereotypes."
Let's change the subject to something more positive.
"I find that comment a bit uncomfortable. Could we talk about something else?"
Before we wrap up, let's review some general tips for handling rudeness in English.
First, stay calm and take a deep breath before responding.
Second, use a polite tone even if the other person doesn't. Third, use I statements like "I feel" or "I would prefer" rather than accusing the other person.
Fourth, know when to walk away. Sometimes the best response is no response.
And finally, practice these phrases beforehand so they come naturally when you need them.
Let's do a quick role play to practice. Jake, can you be rude to me and I'll show our listeners how to respond?
Sure. "Hey, your English is terrible. I can barely understand you."
"I'm still learning English and I'm doing my best. I'd appreciate more supportive comments."
That was perfect, Emma. And now I'll respond to a rude comment from you.
"Why are you always late? Don't they teach punctuality in your country?"
I understand punctuality is important. However, I'd prefer if you didn't make assumptions about my country or culture.
Excellent response, Jake.
We hope these examples and phrases will help you feel more confident when dealing with rudeness in English.
Remember, it's okay to stand up for yourself, but try to do so in a way that doesn't escalate the situation.
And remember that cultural differences might mean someone doesn't realize they're being rude according to your cultural norms.
That's all for today's episode of Real World English. We'd love to hear about your experiences handling rudeness in English.
Leave a comment or send us a message with your questions or suggestions for future episodes.
Until next time, keep practicing your English and remember, staying polite doesn't mean letting people walk all over you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye for now.
Goodbye.